Welcome back to another installment of r/no sleep. I have another one here. Author, Yeetman XD69. Good name, brother. Title, Eternal Karaoke. Let's jump into it. I stepped into the black building, my girlfriend by my side. The lights were dim as we headed for the elevator. I briefly recalled what she said earlier about this city having a lot of haunted buildings, but I tried to set that thought aside. So do you guys do this a lot? I asked. Yeah, it's a very popular activity, my girlfriend said cheerfully. The elevator stopped on the 4th floor and we stepped out. Walking down dimly lit corridors, we arrived at room 414. We stepped inside and my girlfriend smiled from ear to ear. All her friends were inside, and she hadn't seen them for quite some time. This was also my first time meeting them. Happiness filled the air, and beer bottles filled the tables. I met her cousin. He was a pretty cool guy. We communicated through translator apps. Despite the language barrier, I still felt that I got along with him well. Some people just give off a good vibe. The strobe lights in the room danced as they gleefully sang along to their favorite songs. I couldn't really participate, but I still had a good time regardless. After all, this was a new experience for me. I did sing some duets with my girlfriend when she occasionally picked an English pop song. I had no musical talent, so it was slightly embarrassing, but I'll get over it. After a while, I had to go to the bathroom. I had no clue where it was, so I asked my girlfriend to go with me. We walked down a few hallways until we found it. I took her with me because I felt like I was going to get lost going back to the room. I'm very directionally impaired. That is, in fact, what happened. When I was done, I stepped outside the restroom. I waited around for a little bit for my girlfriend, and after a few minutes, I decided she must have gone back to the room. I wandered the halls, but I got turned around. All the rooms looked the same to me. I couldn't seem to figure out which way I came from. As I wandered the halls, I noticed how quiet it is. Before, I could hear plenty of people singing from different rooms. And speaking of people, I hadn't seen anybody this entire time I've been walking about, until I turned the corner. Rounding the corner in panic, I completely stopped in my tracks. Standing at the edge of the hallway was a man. He was dressed normally, and everything about him appeared normal, except he stared. His eyes completely open, just staring. A chill ran down my spine. I did not want to go near him. In a daze, I stepped into a random room. Sitting on the furniture were these strange things. I think they wore masks or some sort of costume, but the facial expressions were far too realistic. It was uncanny. They were pale white, covered in fur, and they wore suits. Their faces were cat-like. The way they stared, it was pure disdain. I felt like a bug just waited to be squashed. Slamming the door, I ran back the other way and finally had some luck. I noticed the door I had just exited was room 416, so I darted down towards room 414. Yanking the door open, I was met with an empty room. No sign of anyone even having been there. No beer bottles, no food. Even my jacket I had left on the chair was gone. Puzzled, I frantically pondered what to do when I noticed something was on the screen. A timer with no set number. I looked over at the door. Peering in the small window was that man from before. I heard the door lock from the outside. The man in the window looked at me. I watched his gaze shift, transfixing on the screen before me. He kept moving his head, motioning towards it. Why was he motioning towards the TV? What was up with the infinite timer on the screen? The strange man continued to motion towards the television. I eventually got the message. I selected a song and nervously began to sing. My eyes shifted back and forth to the man. He looked pleased now. A smile appeared on his face. After the song finished, the screen changed. The timer blinked. It now read 1 million. I had no idea how I ended up in this predicament, but I understood what I had to do. I continued singing. song after song. The whole time the man watched in glee. It was strange. I never grew hungry or needed to use the bathroom. It was as if I was frozen in time. This continued for ages. I soon came to realize those numbers represented years. If I ever stopped, the timer paused too. I had to keep singing if I ever wanted to get out of here. I sang for longer than any human has ever been alive. For longer than any human civilization has lasted. I felt enraged at the scenario. I'd often daydreamed of being able to just freeze everything and read my books. Having all the time in the world, this would have been the perfect opportunity. But instead, I was forced to sing karaoke songs by myself. I've sung and memorized every popular song possibly ever released, at least at the time of my imprisonment. I've learned every main language in the world and can speak them fluently. I had to find some way to bide the time besides just singing after all. I'd sing a song in a language I didn't know for years and then switch to an English version of the same song. I'd perfected my singing chops too. I could sing a rap flawlessly. After longer than anyone could even dream of, I was done. "Hey babe, you were in the bathroom a long time. Are you okay?" my girlfriend said with a concerned look on her face. One look at her and I started bawling. I wrapped my arms around her and hugged her tight. She would never know what I had experienced. I couldn't tell her. How would she believe me? And if she did believe me, I didn't want to break her spirit. She was the most positive person I knew. I had to move on, somehow. But I live in fear. It may seem like I can live a wonderful life, having possibly the most beautiful singing voice in human history and knowing so many languages. It would seem I could do anything I set my mind to at this point, but everywhere I look, around every corner, I see that man, those eyes peering at me when I'm not looking. I'll never escape them. Thanks for watching. I'm the Micro Masochist. Farewell.